Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to another special edition of TADTalk. Today's going to be a blast, actually. I'm going to enjoy it, but this guy is going to enjoy it today.
Yeah.
How many years ago? 11 years ago?
I think we met these guys about 13, 14 years ago, and they actually, they're one of those bands that should have gotten way more attention than they did, and I probably annoyed the hell out of them when I first met them with how much I loved their music. But I still love it to this day, and it's awesome having one of the guys on here.
Yes, it is. They're called Tragedy Andy, and check out this video.
Honey, you don't have to drink so much just to keep your feelings at bay. Your feelings at bay. You roll down the bottle and approach yourself, finding that you're flinching without fear. You choke back every tear. Tonight I'll stand alone, disbelieve all deep down. It's nothing personal, striving for what I've outgrown. And I won't cry, don't surrender to me, don't cut, I don't do what I say, and I won't scream. But Dad, remember that if you learn anything from this, death is the end of consciousness. We hold our breath for what? For our lives. If you know anything, life is a mockery of what we hope to be. We're still not saying anything. You're still not saying anything. I'll try not to waste your time, but time's another way to make me fall in line. High time to set this straight. Come on, distantly distracted, baby. Come on, don't let it be the same. Come on, you knew that this would happen, and you're not saying anything. You can't recall how it begins, 'cause love.
That's Tragedy Andy. Welcome our special guest, Dusty Brooks. Dusty,
Hi!
how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on. It's such an honor to be on TADTalk. You guys have so many fascinating and brilliant people on the show that have amazing stories, and I'm sure a lot of your viewers are wondering what the hell I'm doing on here.
Well, not the Tragedy Andy fans, of which we are a couple. I don't know anyone who's as besotted with Tragedy Andy music as much as Nick. But I have a question: Is that what you used to look like?
That's what I used to look like. Wow. Those were the days.
No kidding.
How long ago was that, do you think? That was the Crux music video, I think, that we just watched.
Gosh, I think that, 2008, I think. So, gosh, it's 2020. Let's see, 20 minus 8. You got to carry the 1. Bring that one down. 12 years ago. 12 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, if you'd have done that now in school math, you'd be 20 minus 8, carry 1, multiplied, drawn over.
Yeah, what is that about?
Draw the graph out.
Common Core?
Yeah. Turn the paper over. Yeah.
Who thought that was a good idea?
I know.
How's homeschooling going?
It took a little getting used to. We're actually really lucky because I am still able to work. I'm a truck driver now, and my fiance Alex, she was able to work at home, and it works great. Addie, she's 8 years old now, and they can sit across the table from each other, and she can make sure Addie's staying focused, and it's actually, you adapt. It's you just kind of adapt and go from there, and it works.
Nice.
No, absolutely. Well, tell us about Tragedy Andy. I mean,
Well-
I first met them at Sky back in 2008, was it?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, first, before anything, we have to do the random question because
we
that's
do.
that's a
right.
staple. That's a staple for this. So, the random question we have for you is actually staying on the spectrum of music. So,
Okay.
Dusty, if you could travel back in time and watch one album being recorded in the studio, which one would it be?
Oh my gosh. The easy one would probably be like Sgt. Pepper's but no, you know what? I'm gonna do Thriller. I'm a big MJ fan, and to see Thriller, like Michael Jackson's always had this kind of mysterious persona about him. Like we didn't really get much of a look into his personal life, and to see him actually in action in the songwriting process and the recording process, I think that would be phenomenal. We got kind of a little look at it when he released that last, I think This Is It.
Yeah.
The kind of the making of the London tour.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, all I've seen really. So yeah, I think I'd have to go with Thriller.
That's
Good
awesome.
answer.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
What would you say?
I've always said Sgt. Pepper's, but because we brought them up, I think I would love to have seen Spilt Milk be recorded.
Jellyfish. Yeah.
Jellyfish.
Can you imagine
Would have
that?
been great to see how that came. Brilliant stuff. Just brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
Joining a fan club is
Yeah.
great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know what? I've asked this question a few times, so I've given a few different answers. I've already said a bunch. Honestly, Real Love Is Permanent would have been really cool to see as well. But you know what I would say? I would say the E.T. soundtrack. I would have loved to have been in the room when John Williams was conducting that orchestra doing the E.T. score. That would be sick.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
good.
man.
Yeah. All right, so Tragedy Andy, 2008. Man, I remember at Sky, the restaurant, we were there. I wasn't driving yet. And my mom and I were at home, and you were there, as you always were, getting things ready for the big night that was happening. And you said, you got to come down here and see this band. And he'd said that a few times, and it was either hit or miss. It was never. I never knew whether it was going to be great or if it sucked. So I was like, okay, and it, got dressed and came down and heard Tragedy Andy. And I remember you were sound checking with Ballad of the Swan, and I was like, when did the Beatles become reincarnated? So I was just smitten immediately.
Wow.
It was incredible. It was
That's a huge compliment.
no, it was awesome, and you can definitely immediately tell the influences that went into, especially Real Love Is Permanent, and that's what I love, because up until that point I hadn't really heard anything modern that reflected the music that used to be, and that's what really hooked me from the beginning.
Can you get Ballad of the Swan on that phone and play it?
I don't know if it will pick up very well, but we can.
I'll fix it.
Yeah. All right.
Because Ballad of the Swan, we play these little music trivia questions now where we'll play 4 bars of a song in the family, and Julie and Nick and Ann and I, and we guess which is, and we always invariably pick out a Tragedy Andy song to try to catch us out. But
Make sure
Wow.
the volume's up.
That's a huge thank you.
no, they're great.
Here we go.
And this is Ballad of the Swan. Great.
It's such
Ballad of the Swan.
Yeah.
such an
Yep,
incredible
that was
song.
my best, the jaw harp, boing, boing, boing. You know,
It's great.
self-taught.
Great stuff.
yeah.
That event at Sky was American Idol when Jordan Sparks won, and it's a big charity gala. I think Jordan was on there. You were on there. Melinda Doolittle, who was recently a guest on TADTalk.
Sanjaya was on there.
I saw that one, yeah.
Sanjaya, and it was, and Chris Richardson was also on.
That's right.
That was a great night. What's your favorite Tragedy Andy song, Dusty?
Oh, gosh. I think probably it's actually, oh, gosh, that's so tough because it depends what mood I'm in. But one of my favorite ones to perform was, I have two, Decepticide and So Right. So Right was one of our older ones. And I don't know, just something about that, it just like rocking out while playing that, it felt so good. And So Right. that's kind of how that song became named, was just because, we were in the momentum of just playing shows and people, digging it. It's just such a rush, and it's so awesome that we were able to captivate people really like that. I mean, I think music is so important, and I feel so blessed to be able to play it. I'm sure you guys do. But, especially in a time now when like the country's so divided, like music really brings people together of, all kinds, all ideologies, religions, races, like somehow we just kind of gravitate towards songs we like, and to be able to be a part of, a creator of that. I think the world needs more of that. And
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. What's your favorite Tragedy Andy
I knew
song?
you were going to ask me that.
Can only pick one.
It's between two, so I'm going to say two.
Nah, I can only pick one.
No, I'm saying two. So it has to be between. See, now I'm going to say the entire album.
Picture Perfect Click.
Oh, that's a great one as well. Oh gosh, that's a great one.
But I liked your version of that on piano. You sent me
I was thinking of
recording
covering
that you
it.
did,
Yeah,
and
I'm still.
I actually like your version better. Honestly.
Well, that. Thank you. So I'm going to then continue along that road of covering it. But I would say on that album, I love Picture Perfect Click, but believe me, if it was my favorite song, I wouldn't try to cover it. I would leave it be, because I think it,
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
I think my two favorites have to be State of Stranger, which it's like, in terms of the album, would probably be considered a deep cut.
Is that on Real Love Is Permanent?
Yeah.
It is, yeah, but it's so great. And Photosynthesis in Retrospect, which the name itself is longer than the song, but it's
Yeah, that actually that might be my third favorite to play.
so
Or
cool.
we'd refer to it as Chasing the Satellites 2, and yeah, that was a fun one to play.
Can you play a little bit of that on your phone?
Yeah, I can get it up.
Photosynthesis in Retrospect?
Photosynthesis in Retrospect.
How did that name come up, Dusty?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I wish Justin was here because he could tell you more about that. But I think just photosynthesis, is how plants grow. They use the sun to grow, and I think the plant was us growing metaphorically, and the sun was kind of just people digging it and just getting to that next level of reaching bigger crowds, and and then just kind of looking back on it and seeing what we could do different, or mistakes we made, things we did well, and just kind of learning from our own history, really.
Cool. Let's hear
that's what it meant
of
to me.
Well, here's a little bit of Photosynthesis in Retrospect.
An idealistic concept. I came up on a roll. A fire rage can't reject. A shiver without cold. I was the blank wallpaper.
Nice.
It's so good, and it's one of those things you only listen to 20 seconds of it, and you do not get the full scope of what the song is. There's so many twists and turns and changes, and that's the entire album of Real Love Is Permanent, and that's what I love about it. And tell me about the end of that song, when you broke out into that really Pink Floyd-y type of
that little jammy
yeah.
intro into that Timelines and Ashes.
Yeah.
I wish I had a more profound answer. Honestly, we just needed something to transition into the next song, so we just kind of had like a little improv section where we're, just kind of we wanted like some kind of dreamy thing, and just kind of jammed on that. I want to say A minor. I don't know, whatever.
That's awesome. Was that layered, or did you literally just jam and that was it? Was that a layered a layered session on that last part? Because it seems so full.
No, actually, that section was pretty much improv and live. We might have tried it like a couple times, but for the most part, we recorded all that live. And that whole album, we really wanted to have a live feel to it. And it's funny you say the Beatles, because they were a huge influence for us at that time. And I think one of the things that made the Beatles so great was each one of them was their own color, and they used all four colors to create these pictures, these paintings. And that was something that with Tragedy Andy worked well for us. I think it really helped with our songwriting, was that we had just an ultimate trust in each other. Like, we trusted each other with any ideas we had. Like, if somebody wanted to try something, we would do it. And, a lot of times in bands these days, sometimes you got one lead songwriter who wants to do things his way, and then everybody else is kind of a hired gun. It takes a lot of, self, to let down your guard. You got to kind of humble yourself to trust these other members in your group, and allow them to have their voice too. And I think the best bands do that, because otherwise a lot of bands tend to sound the same. They write like a couple songs and everything's like, oh yeah, okay, that's this band song. I don't want to offend anybody, but
you were gonna say Nickelback. You were gonna say Nickelback. No, absolutely.
But
I think that's
just pushing on.
That's why there's so much magic in your music, in Tragedy Andy, definitely. When we come back after the break, we're going to let you know why we saw a band once at Sky and suddenly become so obsessed with the music. Well, we'll move it on a few years from there. We'll be back after the break.
Life is a journey, and everybody's going somewhere. Why wait for the fun to start when you reach your destination? With TAD Travel, the fun starts the moment you leave your door, wherever you're going, and however you want to get there. We've got it covered. TAD Travel. We're going places. Are you coming with us?
And we're back with part 2 of TAD Talk with our special guest, Dusty Brooks. So we saw this band, Tragedy Andy, and Nick came down reluctantly because his old man said, you're going to like this music. And he said, yeah, whatever. He comes down, loves the band, hangs out, got some real geeky photographs with him. I remember that.
Oh, gosh. We're not showing those. Post-production ain't happening with that.
And then, so how do we take it on from there? And because he really did love the music, as I did. And so flick forward to his 15th birthday party, and Anne and I are trying to figure out what should we do for Nick's 15th birthday. You know what'd be cool? How about Tragedy Andy playing in the backyard? So we did. That was fun.
That was a awesome and hilarious day because they got to the party, and I was. If anyone has seen me on stage and see, how crazy I am, I was not like that back then. I was very to myself. I was very.
Introverted?
Yeah, introverted, very much so. I was on stage introducing the band to people I knew, and I couldn't even do that. I was like, this is Tragedy Andy, please enjoy. They started playing, and then obviously it's a party, so people were, swimming in the pool and laughing and talking and eating food. And I was like, guys, y'all are sitting down for this. You're watching this show. And then the cops were called. Do you remember that? The cops came around to the house.
Really?
Yeah. It was great.
They've been called. I'm used to.
Crazy.
It's all a blur to me having the cops called on me.
It's an interesting observation because that's his 15th birthday party, and here he is telling his friends who were in the pool, hanging out, no, sit down, we're watching a concert. And flick forward, 12 years, he's getting married next August, and
Oh my gosh.
didn't hire a wedding band so people could dance. We hired the Lords of 52nd Street, who is Billy Joel's band, with
wow.
Liberty DeVito and Richie Canada and Russell Javors.
Oh, yeah.
So anyone at the wedding party wanting to dance is going to be, not yet, no, sit down, we're watching Billy Joel.
Yeah, you better enjoy this.
Yeah, you're going outside if you want to talk. You go.
So yeah, cool stuff. So what do you want to ask about Tragedy, Andy?
Well, I'm interested because I've always loved the album, and back then I was into music, but I wasn't into the whole recording side of it. I listened to music and I loved it, and it was always like a magic trick to me. I always wondered how a 4-piece band could make such, such fullness out of their music. And now that I've started going into the studio, it's a little more clear to me, but I still have questions just about the experience in the studio. And what studio did he record it in to begin with?
Yeah, it was Pop Smear Studios in San Rafael, and they're kind of an indie label at the time. Basically it was a studio that we didn't have to come out of pocket to buy time to record. So they didn't give us, we tried to keep it, the cost down, but we were able to really we literally did stay the night in the studio and just tried everything. And Justin actually is really, I think, to thank for that, because he showed up with a notepad, this thick, to all these ideas he had, and then we just kind of threw our ideas in too and tried to, add our voice and color and kind of structure it and help, with our chords or whatever, because he's a bass player, and as guitar players we could kind of shape what he wanted to create, and then we just experimented a lot. Justin learned, actually he was kind of an intern for Pop Smear and learned how to run Pro Tools, and he would track bands that would come in for Scott, the producer, and we just pretty much did it all ourselves. And we kind of learned as we went, really, and we didn't have any time restraints or jobs or, girlfriends or kids at the time. So we were just totally devoted to this album, and especially the Beatles were a huge influence, and we wanted to try all these, things to go beyond just the 4-piece music instruments. So we brought in, a violinist and a piano player and our friends for some group vocals, and then we just tried it. We just tried everything, and if it sounded great, we kept it, and if it didn't sound great, we panned it to one side, threw a bunch of reverb on it, and turned it really down in the mix.
That's awesome. It's just
Chet Atkins. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, Chet Atkins, he used to call it talent. Throw reverb in the studio. He said, throw a little more talent on that, because, anything sounds better with reverb.
That's right. It goes to show that really there's certain things you can follow in music to make it, make a song, make it sound good. But there really are no rules when it comes to writing music or being in the studio recording.
Yeah.
And some of the best bands out there are some of the most unknown bands, really. But some of the best bands out there take chances and experiment with new things. They don't write the same 4 chords over and over and sing about the same thing in every song, and they experiment, and that's what makes them so good. And I want to break into a band called Jellyfish right now, which is another great example of a band that just said, "Screw it, let's try it." And they came out with an album called Spilt Milk, which is, no offense, is probably my favorite album of all time.
Oh, none taken. Are you kidding me?
It's
absolutely.
It's just incredible, and it seems to me that there's a bunch of Jellyfish inspiration lathered inside Real Love Is Permanent. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we always kind of walk that tightrope where, I don't know, because we were each one of us in Tragedy Andy had like a completely different influence. Like some of us were like, Justin was the songwriter, and he didn't have a whole lot of musical training, but he had a great ear, and he just wrote great songs. And then Isaac was like really, he was the talent. Like he knew his theory and could, just hear something and play it. And then Doug was an incredible drummer. Him and I grew up in high school playing bass, and him and I played in the jazz bands and together. And so I kind of was a bass player when I first joined Tragedy Andy, and kind of learned guitar by playing in Tragedy Andy. So I was kind of musically trained, but not guitar trained. So, I could play things that Isaac would show me what to play. But the theory behind it and like coming up with it, I couldn't just do it on the fly. I had to sit down and hunt and peck and woodshed, as they call it, to come up with my parts. But I had a lot of great teachers, Justin and Isaac, to, the best of both worlds between the songwriter and it's kind of weird. Like as musicians, there's a wide spectrum of musicians. Like you have the songwriters, then you have the musicians. Well, I don't know. That's you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. We know exactly what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, like the people that might not be able to come up with the song, but can play anything and can rip a screaming solo. And Jellyfish, like they brought those two sides together and still kept it catchy and kept the songwriting good, but the musicianship in it, the quality was phenomenal. And a lot of times with virtuoso music, it becomes musician music. It doesn't really appeal to the masses. I went and saw a clinic one time with Victor Wooten, and he described it as a cake. Those virtuoso, those shredding guitar solos, it's like the frosting on a cake. The frosting might be what attracts you to the cake in the beginning, but you can only eat so much cake. Eventually you're going to want that, those chord progressions. That's
absolutely right.
And
awesome.
just finding that harmony is the, left brain, right brain kind of balance is tricky. It's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah. And for me, taking it to a different generation, but the same thing, is 10cc. Is my favorite band. But 10cc are the band that took literally two different ideas of how to do music and bring them together and come up with songs like Life is a Minestrone and Silly Love and Wall Street Shuffle, Dean and I, and all of that. Do you know much 10cc stuff, Dusty?
Not a whole lot.
I'm going to send
Maybe if I heard it.
I'm going to send you links. The big famous one is I'm Not in Love, but all the other stuff is the stuff I'm referring to. But good stuff.
No, that's great.
This is a great show. We could. I know you and I could talk for hours and hours about Tragedy Andy. You know what? There's two things we've always talked about. One of them is a Jellyfish reunion. It'd be great to see that band. And Jellyfish, if I'm not mistaken, Jellyfish and Tragedy Andy are from the same part of the world. Is that right?
Oh, are they from the Bay Area?
The Bay Area, right?
Oh, yeah.
So Jellyfish is from San Francisco.
Yeah. So
Okay.
So Jellyfish is from San Francisco.
It's same place. You're from San Rafael, right?
No, well, that's where our studio was, but we kind of grew up in San Mateo County, which is 20 minutes south of San Francisco. So, we usually just say San Francisco or the Bay Area because everybody knows where that is. But, we were just below that.
Yeah, Jellyfish are from the Bay Area, too.
That's awesome.
Oh, my God.
Kind of thing. So here's what I suggest. I think we talk to Roger. We say, come on, we're going to try to arrange this Jellyfish reunion. How can we make it? And I think the support act should be Tragedy Andy with their reunion.
Boom.
And I think we start with a Zoom call with Dusty and Doug and Justin and Isaac, and you in the middle about a Zoom reunion, and then let's start to talk to. Let's do it. I'm getting my phone now.
Oh my God, I'm in.
I'm making the call now. Hey, can
cancel my plans for the rest of my life. I'm in.
I thought you were going to say cancel your plans for the rest of 2020. I was like, done.
Oh yeah,
Done.
No, can you imagine? Can you imagine that though?
I mean,
people
amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's been great having you on the show, Dusty.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You know, I gotta say, like, I was so, like, when Nick first messaged me, because it's been so long since I've done anything like this, and when he first messaged me, I was really scared, you know, and I was, oh gosh, I can't do this, you know, I got to find a way to get out of it, and but I love Nick, you know, I didn't want to let you guys down or anything, so I sat on it a couple days, and because he wanted me on like the next day or whatever, and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't even have time to come up with some shtick or, you know, like, but so I sat on, you know, a couple days, and then I was like, you know, this is awesome. This is like an awesome opportunity, and to turn it down because I'm scared is such a lame excuse. And I'm so glad I did it because like this felt so natural, and you guys were so welcoming, and it went by so quick. And
yeah,
you know,
it is.
it's.
I can wrap it up honestly by saying that through our lives, there's very few things that influence you unequivocally positively, and Tragedy Andy's music did that since Nick was about 13 all the way up to today. The album Real Love Is Permanent and the music of Tragedy Andy is very up there with us bringing positivity to our family all the time. So it's our pleasure to have you on the show.
I will go even
thank you.
further by saying, you know, and this is getting real deep into my personal life right now. My younger life, my younger self was not always the, it's changed now, thank goodness, but I was not always the happiest person. There were some dark times in there, and it really was Real Love Is Permanent. That it was that and Billy Joel really were the two driving factors to get me out of the funk I was in. So I have you guys to thank for that. So
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, music does it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we may have lost Dusty's signal.
He's just frozen. He doesn't know what to say.
He's going, what? Tragedy Andy? Are you sure? Yeah,
Look at him.
Yeah, we lost him.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get him back before
try
we
to
go
get him
on.
back.
Yeah.
But
This has been
there you are.
amazing. There we go.
We got you.
Okay.
There. We got you back.
Thank you, Nick. Gosh, I mean, that's like I don't know what to say. That's like seriously, I'm like tearing up.
No, it was
Somebody's cutting onions. I don't know.
Well, it's true. He had a big impact on our lives and obviously on Nick's life in a very
Definitely.
positive way.
We got to ask the question.
That's the question, Nick. It's all yours.
It's mine today?
It is
Okay.
yours.
We ask this question on every show, and we didn't prep you before, but if you've seen TADTalk, you know what's coming. So for the next 60 minutes, you have, well, let me try that again, because you usually say it, don't you? The next 60 minutes you can spend with any two people, dead or alive. It can be family members that are still here or maybe that you've lost. It can be historical figures, celebrities. It can be anyone you want. You have 60 minutes to spend with two people anywhere in the world. So who are you going to spend it with? Where are you going to go? And what are you going to talk about?
Does it have to be a person?
It can be an
Can
animal.
it be like
or-
a stegosaurus? Can it like a stegosaurus?
Yeah, if you want it to be.
whatever
Yeah.
you want.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool. The dinosaurs. I've always said, you know, the meaning of life is to bring back the dinosaurs. But, you know, but if it was two people, one would be my grandfather, because I never got a chance to meet him. He passed away when I was about one, and he, from what I hear, he actually reminds, or Terry reminds me a lot of what he might have been. Like he
Right.
was just so funny and like just real quick and had a lot of friends and just a real bright personality. And then my second one, if I could go back in time, it would be my best friend, Mac Daniels, because he came up here in Portland, about 10 years ago now. And he was playing in a band and he was on tour, and the band had another gig, in a couple of days, and they had to drive to, I want to say Reno, and he didn't want to go. He wanted to stay and party with us because we hadn't seen each other in a long time, and the rest of the band really wanted to get on the road and go, and so they went, and the driver fell asleep and rolled the van, and he was ejected out of the van and unfortunately passed away.
Wow.
And I could go back in time and tell him, don't get on that, and don't get in the van, Sorry, I didn't mean to close this with a downer.
No, that's wow.
Like nowadays especially, we don't talk to a whole lot of people on the phone, and he was one of those people that, he'd call me up and we would just talk about everything. And we had such a high level of respect for each other that when we disagreed, we could just have an open conversation about things. And I think that's really missing today, is just having a direct conversation with things, whether it be politics or, whatever. I think, if we just had that conversation with each other, we find we're a lot more similar than not. And but yeah, I miss that guy. The world lost a good one that day, and everybody that knows him would say the same. But yeah, those would be my people.
That's a great answer.
Good stuff, Dusty. This has been a great show. Thanks so much. We love Tragedy, and I know what I'm doing
Thank you,
tonight.
guys.
I'm going home and putting the album on again and listening to it.
Oh my gosh! Thank you so much. I'll give you guys a hug.
Yeah, we'll do a virtual hug.
Social distance hug.
Awesome stuff.
Face full of man boob.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a great album name.
A face full of man boob?
Yeah.
I like
There you
it.
go. All right.
Go write a song.
Itself already.
You enjoyed it today?
Yeah, it was great.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
Great having you on the show. I'm working on that reunion as we speak. To everyone watching TAD Talk, we will see you on the next episode. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.